Thank you, Presiding Officer. I want to focus a wee bit on America, the Scottish diaspora in the US and our connections there. Having lived in Los Angeles in California for 14 years previously, and with experience of work and travel in many of the other states, I know the depth of feeling for Scotland, for people right across America. And whether it be with those with family history traceable to Scotland, those working in business, finance and the arts with links to Scotland, or indeed those working in academia, science and innovation, we have great connections with the US. And it is right that the Scottish Government build on those connections and work with our diaspora to learn skills, gain experiences and share achievements to enrich our culture and society. Presiding Officer, as the motion states, Scotland's diaspora is an extension of Scotland itself. The framework described by the Cabinet Secretary considers the diaspora to be a living bridge with people, organisations and communities around the world. Scotland has influenced America in the fields of economics, engineering, architecture, philosophy, business, medicine, geology, politics, law, chemistry and sociology. Many cities and towns were named by Scots who, after arriving in America, named their new locale after their hometown. The USA has 8 Aberdeens, 7 towns named Glasgow, 8 Edinburghs and 8 towns that are simply called Scotland. And there is a Dumfries in Virginia. In politics, Presiding Officer, 35 of the 46 US presidents were Scots or Ulster Scots. And just recently, I had a meeting with the Department of Corrections and the DOC staff from Massachusetts. And after the business part of the meeting, the staff were very keen to talk all things Scotland. They wanted to recall their previous trips themselves and upcoming visit to Scotland. They were more interested, I think, in talking about Scotland than they were in the business that I had to attend. It was great to hear about the DOC's willingness to work with the Scottish Government where we can continue our connections and, which are related in the justice area, and that is needed. Last week in Parliament, I hosted students from the University of South Carolina, and Business Minister George Adam, Paisley's MSP, joined me in the session. And the students and staff remarked on how the Scottish Parliament and Government is so directly in touch with people, not only here in Scotland, but right across America. If university students can pick this up after a few days travelling in the UK, I think it puts Scotland in incredibly good international standing. Indeed, Presiding Officer, in the most recent US-Canada census, more than 5 million Americans claim Scottish ancestry, and the USA is both Scotland's top international export destination and our largest inward investor. And as a co-convener of the USA Cross-Party Group, we have heard many presentations regarding trade and Scotland at the USA CPG over the last few years. Annual exports are worth $6 billion in recent years, with the engineering and advanced manufacturing, food and drink, which has been mentioned by colleagues already, financial and business services, technology, digital and media and energy sectors all performing strongly. In total, US companies account for around 25% of the total of foreign inward investment in Scotland. More than 650 US-owned businesses employ around 115,000 people across Scotland. But we don't just exchange goods, we also exchange ideas. The US is Scotland's top global collaborator when it comes to research. 16 of our higher education institutions share 82 unique links with US counterparts. I will, if I've got time, Presiding Officer.
Craig Hoy.
Member for giving way. Talking about exchanging ideas, does she welcome the fact?
Could we have Mr Hoy's microphone, please? Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Given that the member has mentioned exchanging ideas, does she welcome the fact that the US is unavowedly low-tax, pro-business, pro-nuclear, strongly defends its oil and gas sector and is undoubtedly a free market that believes in economic growth? Is that the kind of ideas she would like Scotland to be sharing with the US?
Emma Hart.
I think Scotland needs to be able to share ideas independently from other areas in the UK. I think we have a lot to offer that we should be allowed to be right at the door and out there speaking to people so that our ideas can be conveyed, especially when there are some fundamental different ideas that we have in Scotland as far as wellbeing economy, for instance, to take our ideas forward. Every opportunity that we can have in Scotland is where we need to propose strong cultural affinity between Scotland and the USA, for instance. Every year we welcome performers to the Edinburgh Festivals and the World Pipe Band Championships, as well as US military personnel who take part in the Edinburgh Tattoo. Scots also make their own mark in America with innovative partnerships between National Theatre of Scotland and NYC's The Joyce Theatre. Even our Baby Box presiding officer has been on tour in the USA, featured as part of the Designing Motherhood exhibition. The muckle cultural ties between our countries are absolutely worth shouting about. And as a Scot who has lived and worked in America, as I said at the start, with many American friends, I support this framework and highlight its importance. I ask the Cabinet Secretary for a commitment that the Scottish Government will continue to take all action possible to support our Scottish-US connections and to work with the Scottish diaspora to share business, culture, science and innovation. One final point, Presiding Officer. I had the privilege of meeting Jerry O'Donovan, the Irish Consul-General in Scotland, a couple of times recently, and we were discussing how to further boost relations between our countries, including through our minority languages, Scots and Gaelic. And it was insightful to hear from him, and I look forward to continued engagement, including through the British-Irish Parliamentary Assembly, which I am a member of. Presiding Officer, working with the diaspora and working with countries across the globe has a proven track record of improving relationships with countries, and I look forward to Scotland taking on this challenge as we build our own independent nation. Thank you.